Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of Dylan Knows. And I was getting ahead of myself here because I want to get it done before midnight, started before midnight. I was supposed to be playing something here, but I forgot to because I was too busy thinking about getting myself ready here. So let me see if I can find something real here, quick here. That has something to do with what this episode is about. So this week we got a lot of anniversary stuff. Some death here. 7 days to Christmas, obviously. All right, 7 days to Christmas. So that also is kind of tense here a little bit. I'm just trying to kill time here till I find what I'm looking for. Sorry, I know. Those who just for joining the show, I'm sorry. It's not normally how I am. I'm just a little off my game right now. Where are you? Oh, well, I think it's too late to do it now because it's throwing off all the... There it is. That's not it, though. Here, we have music here real quick. God, I'm awful. That's Angela Badalamenti doing The Voice of Love from Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. The reason why I played that is due to the fact that Angela Badalamenti, one of the best scorers of TVs and movies, passed away this week in the age of 90 somewhere. Twin Peaks is one of my favorite shows, and one of the main reasons why is because of Angela Badalamenti's music, but he's also basically David Lynch's John Williams. Steven Spielberg has his John Williams. David Lynch has his Angela Badalamenti. And Angela Badalamenti has scored all of David Lynch's movies and did all the TV shows as well. And also helped, Julie Cruz, who also passed away this year with her career as a singer, and also teamed up with like David Bowie and a few other people as well, and did some music with them as well. So he was a hugely influential scorer, and that was just one of his best bits from his movie Appropriate. It was the final scene of Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, where basically in my description of it, Laura Palmer is being forgiven and transported to heaven. That was my takeaway from it, and that's the music that they used for it. So that's just my opinion, though. So what do I know? We're gonna do something a little different this week. This week there's a ton. I don't know. I maybe I should stop doing these anniversaries because they're like taking up half of my stuff. But it's like all these. This is like the prime week where a lot of stuff has come out in movie theaters and stuff like that. Huge films that are hugely popular, films that I like. Some films that I don't like, but there were some. The majority of them came out at this time, though. Since I have so many of them, I'm not going to stop the show and do all of them. I'll just do it by page because I got a bunch on every page here. So we'll just move along with that. And I think I'm going to do the same thing with any deaths I have. I'm not going to consolidate all the deaths together. I'm going to do that for each page as well. I might do it just for today's episode, which, by the way, it is now 11:57 p.m. on Saturday, December 17th, which means in 7 days, it'll be 11:57 p.m. on Christmas Eve. Yes, Christmas Eve is just about over. 7 days from now, it'll be just about 6 days from now. Once we roll over midnight, but once we roll over to midnight, it'll be 7 days to Christmas because it'll be December 18th. Christmas on December 25th. Yes, it's on a Sunday this year. So you got 1 week, which is kind of nerve-wracking to me because I barely scratched the surface on getting my wife anything for Christmas. The kids are mostly done. I think my wife got all of that done already, but there's a few little things here and there. I plan on doing some shopping. I have a half a day on Friday, the 23rd. And I'm going to do a lot of online shopping also. So that'll probably be easier to just take care of and do that. So I'll still be okay. So they're going to be a little bit different this year because the kids are a little bit older, and it's not been any real slam dunk stuff that they really, really want for Christmas. And it's harder to shop for them now because you'd be able to get a bunch of toys and stuff for my son. He doesn't want that many toys this year. So just kind of a okay holiday. I mean, it's rough for everybody. Everybody's getting older, things weren't never going to stay, as they were when they were kids. So once they get older, and we all live through this, that when you start turning a teenager and getting older, Christmas sort of loses that sort of magic to it until you yourself have your own kids. And then it becomes a little more magical for a while. And then you have to wait for the grandchildren to come, which could be a while now. Which is fine, so we'll see what happens. My daughter turned 16 on Monday. So I have a 16-year-old now. We went out to dinner at the Cheesecake Factory. She enjoyed it thoroughly. And it was pretty good. I was a little less impressed with the food. But everybody else seemed, but it didn't matter. It was for my daughter. She liked it. She ate her food. She enjoyed her food, and she liked her her dinner out, and she liked the presents we got her. And that's all that matters. I took my mom to doctors on Thursday. The doctors had discovered something under her lymph nodes, and they wanted to get an ultrasound to see if it was anything that they should be concerned about. And it isn't. There was nothing there, so she's fine with that end. So she just has the lump that she's gonna be dealing with now until probably sometime after summer of next year. But she is getting chemo for. In fact, her next chemo is on Monday, actually. So. Be good. And it's officially 7 days to Christmas. Sunday, December 18th, 12 a.m. And then my daughter went and had a job interview up at her summer camp she goes to for her scouts, and she got the job. So she'll be working up there this summer. So that's good for her too. Tomorrow we finish up later today, we will finish up her Eagle project. And then it's just fast forward to Christmas. As I said, have a half day on Friday. The kids have a half day on Thursday. They're off on Friday for their Christmas break. We're supposed to get some snow by the end of the week, and also supposed to be brutally cold this Christmas. We're talking 24, 25 degrees. It's going to be brutal Christmas this year. So, and that goes for everything. I'm going to go down later on the show, but I'll talk about now, and I just check it off when I get to it. Florida is supposedly going to have one of the coldest Christmases that they've ever had. Potential, maybe some snow possibly drifting down there. So we'll see. Florida's getting, a cold Christmas. Just imagine what's going on with us up here. So, yep. So that's what's going on. So we'll just get to start. I've talked enough now, 8 minutes. I can move along right now. Today is the beginning of NFL football on Saturdays. And I was kind of excited for today till it actually happened. There was 3 games today. The Indianapolis Colts took on the Minnesota Vikings. The Ravens took on the Browns in the middle game, and the Bills took on the Dolphins in Buffalo, where there's going to be about 1.5 feet of snow had fallen, and it had stopped by the time the game started, but there were some issues with that. Some of the fans were throwing snowballs at the Miami Dolphins when they got to the end zone, and the referees had to say, if you throw any more snowballs at the players, the opposing team players, we will charge the Bills with a 15-yard penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct, thanks to you guys. So the Bills had to try to calm them down, and it worked somewhat, I guess. But let's cover these games real quick because they all had their own little adventurous stuff. The first one is the Vikings-Colts game was, for a half, a complete shocker because the Vikings were in a good spot to start, making, they were this close. If they won this game, they would have they would have won their NFC North and would have themselves a ticket for the playoffs. They were down 33-0 to the hapless Colts at halftime. The final score, Vikings 39, Colts 36 in overtime. Yes, the Colts blew a 33-point lead. It's the biggest comeback in NFL history. Matt Ryan, quarterback of the Colts, was the quarterback of record. He was the one that also blew the 27-3 World's 28-3 Super Bowl, where the Patriots were down going the third quarter, and they came roaring back and ended up winning that Super Bowl as well. 39-36. They were down 33-0 at halftime, which meant they scored 39 points in 2 quarters. Oh, actually, and in overtime, because that was insane. That led to the Colts-Browns game. And I had high hopes for that because I thought we would be okay. Nope, I was wrong. That game was a shit show. The Ravens lost 13-3. Justin Tucker, who is usually automatic, missed a 40-yard field goal and then had another one blocked. And then the Ravens had multiple chances they got into the red zone. They had multiple chances to score to really blow this game out. And one of them was they went for it on 4th and 1, and they gave it to Ricard, which I was shouting out for them to do, to just pound it in. But the Browns ended up pushing him sideways, so he never crossed to get the first down. And then another time we got down to the red zone, and Huntley threw a pick, which killed us also. The only plus side was our defense. The Browns were able to move the ball a lot down the field, and the only good stuff we got out of that was they only gave up 1 touchdown and 2 field goals. So, just a shitty in general game. The Ravens looked terrible. They were all kinds of just awful stuff. So they just looked really, 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 really awful. And hopefully they got that out of the system and they don't look that bad ever again. Now, to be fair, in the 2012, when the Ravens went on to win the Super Bowl, they looked horrible in December also. Hopefully, maybe we'll get it in gear and things will get better, and we'll see. And then the nightcap had the Bills over the Bills playing the Dolphins in the freezing cold of Buffalo and 12 feet, a foot and a half of snow, stuff like that. And Miami actually made the game. Came down to the very last play of the game where the Bills kicked a field goal to win 32-29. So that was a good game as well. So that's what happened with that. So as I was talking about, Christmas is coming. A kid hasn't gotten Christmas presents in 2 years to repay the Fortnite spending spree he did on his grandmother's credit card. So that was kind of an interesting story to come up. You get that period where you say, "Hey, Grandma, can I borrow your credit card to get some V-Bucks to buy some stuff?" And Grandma's like, to be nice, like, "Yeah, go ahead, son." So he did, and then he kept using it over and over again. So eventually she got the bill. Was like, "What the hell?" And kicked his ass. And he hasn't got a Christmas present in 2 years from his grandmother, which is good. Also, speaking of Fortnite, Pornhub's 2022 searches, the most popular searches, Pornhub, were dominated by computer games. So a lot of you freaky guys are looking for Minecraft porn, Overwatch porn, Resident Evil porn, and Fortnite porn. So apparently that's out there. So, and I guess that kind of makes sense because you get the whole stereotype of the gamer, lonely gamer, sort of not a lot of friends, nerdy gamer, plays a lot of these things, and so they need to get off, as it were, and they just know their the stuff that they like of these video games, so they check to see should we take a look while we're on here? Let's take a look at this real quick. Yes, I am actually doing this because I am a lunatic. Let me just see if there is actually such a thing as Minecraft Pornhub. Yes, let's see if this is true here. I'm not going to show you if there is. Yeah, there's but it's basically it's not people dressed up in Minecraft. It is them taking the Minecraft designs and making it into porn. So like it'd be it'd be like you're playing the video game Minecraft and turns it into porn. So I guess it's kind of like all that type of porn is. We're not going to look anymore, but thought that was kind of interesting. So there you go. Anything else porn related? I mean, video game. I mean, let's move on. Let's see. Oh yes, there is something that is video game related. So earlier this year, not too long ago, about a month or so ago, Ash Ketchum has become the greatest Pokemon player in the world, as it were, the best Pokemon player in the world, and he's been doing it for 25 years. So this was the pinnacle of his career. So they're going to do one last special with Ash and Pikachu as he returns back to Pallet Town and just sort of reflects on his journey to be the master Pokemon master of the world. And then he's done. Ash Ketchum has announced his retirement from Pokemon anime. He may pop up in supporting roles down the line, but a brand new anime will be appearing in Japan starting in April of 2023 with a brand new cast, female Pokemon Explorer or whatever, Pokemon Warrior, whatever I forget they're called. I'm one of them, really, playing Pokemon Go. It'll be a female one. Theories are abounding that there's going to be a time jump, and this girl is actually going to be Ash's daughter. And that's why that way they can bring him back in periodically to help her, but he'll be a grown-up at that point. So we'll see if that ends up being the case, but it is a female-led Pokemon show coming out April 2023, focusing on a new Pokemon trainer. That's the proper term, a new Pokemon trainer. And as I said, Ash and Pikachu, after the special airs, I believe it's next week, that's it. They are done. As I said, as the main characters, they may pop up in a supporting role, and eventually someone is probably going to have to fight him to try to beat him to try to become the best in the world as well. So there's that. So kind of interesting stuff happening. I mean, it has been 25 years since it's been going on. So the big news, I guess, for your DC Cinematic Universe fans is it was announced a couple weeks ago that Henry Cavill was going to come back for Man of Steel 2. Yeah, that's not going to happen. James Gunn announced that he will be writing and directing a younger Superman movie as part of his new DC Cinematic Universe lineup, and that Henry Cavill has been removed as Superman. Ben Affleck has also been removed as Batman. It looks more and more like Gal Gadot will be removed as Wonder Woman since Wonder Woman 3 is no longer in active development. The Flash movie has been getting edited like crazy. All the cameos by these characters have been cut out. Here's hoping that they might just have to, it's supposedly set for release in June. They may as well just release it just to get it out there. And then let's just end this. Could be the end of the awful, god-awful, terrible, disgusting, toxic Snyderverse. We get that over with. You still have Jason Momoa's Aquaman movie, which isn't as bad because Jason Momoa is actually good, but he's already announced that he's not coming back as well. And of course, the whole cyborg thing. So James Gunn is coming in and he's rewriting the whole book. And honestly, I'm okay with that. I think James Gunn has better grasp of these characters. He's more of a comic book fan, so he knows how these characters should act and stuff like that. And also, you can't always just keep doing the same old characters over and over again. You need to open it up a little bit. But it would be interesting to see what Cavill has planned for Superman, maybe get him back to where he should be, where he doesn't kill people and he's colorful and he's cheerful and happy and not dark, somber, and awful. So we'll see. So I am glad that is pretty much going, that Snyder's stench is finally being removed here. So hopefully that'll work out in the end. Speaking of stench, for the longest, I went on this rant last week, and I'm not going to revisit it, but for the longest time, I appreciate James Cameron. I liked his stuff, but just a lot of his egotistical comments that have been rolling out here over the last few years about his Avatar thing. And then Avatar 2 is finally out, and it is now coming in below projections. It had a weak Thursday preview, making only $17 million, whereas Black Panther Wakanda Forever the Marvel movie that James Cameron hates Marvel movies, made $29 million on Thursday. Right now, it's Friday, came in way under what it was supposed to. So projections now have it making about 150 to 175 million, which is okay, but it's not Marvel movies numbers. And that's how much you hate them. I know, and it must kill you. That's not, but everyone's like saying, oh, it'll probably do what it did when Avatar came out, is that it'll be number one like till like March, and it'll just build and build and build on that. That very well could possibly happen. I mean, you do have the holidays coming up, so they might get a little bit of a burst, and I would almost bet that it'd probably reach into the pinnacle of the 800 million to $1 billion thing, but I don't think it's going to come anywhere close to the numbers that its first movie did. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. But the fact that it is underperforming right now is kind of a schadenfreude for me. So hopefully that'll continue, so I don't have to hear about how great it is and the toxic fan base can just go away. Here's some casting news. Henry Cavill, since he's no longer going to be Superman, well, don't cry for him, Argentina. He is now set to do a Warhammer 4000 TV show for Amazon. So they're keep doing stuff. He's been cast in that as well. So he's not going anywhere. Donald Glover will be starring in a new Spider-Man weird villain movie thing. He's going to be starring in producing a Hypno Hustler movie, a 1970s villain that wore disco skates and stuff like that and hypnotized people. Donald Glover will be playing that role and producing the film. So, okay, I guess. John Che and Catherine Waterston have been cast in the horror action film They Listen, directed by Chris Weitz, who directed John Che in the American Pie movies. So we got that going on. Let's see, trailer. Jack Dylan Glazer will be joining the Spiderwick Chronicles Disney Plus TV series. So you got that coming up. Matthew, this is probably the best casting news of the week. Matthew Lillard and Josh Hutcherson from the Hunger Games movies have been cast in the Blumhouse live action version of Five Nights at Freddy's. That's just two really interesting actors, whatever I was trying to say, cast in a Five Nights at Freddy film. So that's kind of an interesting sort of take there. So pretty cool. Some trailers. Oh no, I'm sorry, not yet. Florence Pugh wants a role in a potential sequel to the movie The Holiday. Holiday is a great Christmas movie. Kate Winslet, Jack Black, Cameron Diaz, and the guy from Captain Marvel and AI. This is killing me, man. I hate this. I hate when I can't remember. I know these actors. I just can't remember them. The Holiday. It's going to kill me. I know who it is. Jude Law, yes. So it was a good film, and potentially there's a sequel coming up, but Florence Pugh wants a part in it as well, and I think she would fit in just right. Don't know who she would play, but I think she would fit in just right if she did that. Peacock orders a sci-fi horror thriller series from James Wan, who is really good at that type of thing. Michael B. Jordan is going to be directing and starring in Creed 3. And he's been talking about, since it's coming out really soon, he says that boxing, that watching boxing anime has helped him with how he's going to direct it and see the film. So expect to see sort of kind of an anime influence sort of on the boxing fights and stuff like that in the movie. Speaking of video games, that seems to be the trend now. God of War TV series is now in the works at Amazon from the Wheel of Time and Expanse producers. It's going to skip the first 3, I guess, God of War video games and go directly to an adaptation of the most recent one, Norse mythology. So going Going to get a lot of video game material here coming up real soon. That's like the new comics now. The comics, there are so many of them for a while. And now all of a sudden, all the video games are getting all the movies and TV shows. The Barbie teaser trailer popped up this week. It's just a quick little bit that I've laughed my ass off about. It is a parody of the 2001 ape sequence at the beginning of the movie, but with kids and their Barbies. And you get a couple of shots of some of the other characters, and it looks kind of how you expect it to. So I can't wait to see a more in-depth trailer to see what the story is actually about. But it's a good teaser trailer because that's what they are called. They are teaser trailers. A Good Person trailer starring the aforementioned Florence Pugh and Morgan Freeman it's a movie written and directed by Zach Braff, who did Garden State. He's back doing this one. From what I gathered from the trailer, it's about Morgan Freeman plays a father whose daughter is going to be marrying a white guy who is the brother of Florence Pugh's character. And I think Florence Pugh causes a car accident that kills her potential sister-in-law. And I think it's going to go sort of from that point on, sort of like that, sort of a grief thing, because Morgan Freeman's mad at her because it's her daughter, his daughter, and they have, I think they're together at a meeting and they become friends to try to work the grief together. And then he's got to deal with his granddaughter. So it looks kind of like what you expect from a Zach Braff type of film. So you got that coming up. All right, so first wave of anniversaries, and there's a bunch of them. The big one is 1 year ago this week, Spider-Man No Way Home came out. Can you believe it's only been 1 year since that came out? Seems like it's been so long. That was the surprise with Toby and Andrew making appearances and the villains. And it's one of the best movies I've ever seen, and I loved it. And it's a year old now. So we damn well better be talking about the spoilers there. Another great movie, the third part of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, Return of the King, popped up 19 years ago this week. So it celebrates its 20th anniversary next year, which means that The Two Towers is doing its 20th anniversary. We'll hit that probably the next day or so, probably. Getting to some of the 1980s stuff, we got a bunch of 1980s stuff that range from the year 83 through 87. We'll do the 83s first. DC Cab with Mr. T popped up in 1983 this week. To Be or Not to Be, Mel Brooks's remake of the classic film, where he stars with his wife, actually. Is also 1983. Now we skip to 1984. Starman, Jeff Bridges, playing a alien from outer space, who's trying to learn about the Earth and human beings, stuff like that. It was turned to a TV show down the line. That came out in 1984. Let's go back a little bit backwards. 1982 had the arrival of The Dark Crystal, which was the great Jim Henson, Frank Oz film that my wife absolutely adores. That came out. So that's 82. So that'd be 82, it'd be 40 years old. So that's 40 years old this week. 40 years old. So good on that. So congratulations, Dark Crystal, for that. 1987, we have Broadcast News. James L. Brooks did that. William Hurt and Holly Hunter, I believe. It's 1987. Also 1987, we had Overboard, which is a problematic film now, but at the time was great. Had the true life couple Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn in a great Gary Marshall film. It's one of the Gary Marshall likes to make these sort of fairy tale films, and Overboard is one of those. And came out in 1987 this week. Moonstruck shares a big hit with Nicolas Cage. Came out in 1987 this week as well. Rain Man made his appearance in 1988. That was one of Tom Cruise's. Showed that Tom Cruise had a different side to him, and he was more than the Top Gun cocktail sort of asshole. He starts off that way in the movie and then totally changes his character once he learns more about his brother and pays more attention to him, played by Dustin Hoffman. Directed by Barry Levinson, local guy, made good. So he came out in 1988. going backwards now, 1978 had Christopher Reeves, Do You Believe a Man Can Fly? The original Superman came out in 1978 this week. So that's kind of interesting. Now we flash forward now to the turn of the century. Requiem for a Dream came out 22 years ago, which is the drugged out sort of Jennifer Connelly movie that's 22 years old this week. Jumped to 6 years ago, 2016, Rogue One, Star Wars Rogue One, came out this week, 6 years ago. Andor is killing it right now in awards, and finished the first season of that. So Rogue One is actually a really, really good Star Wars movie. So if you have not seen it, check it out. And that is it for page 1. All right, we'll hit anniversaries again here in a little bit. There's 2 deaths that we're going to cover on this page real quick. Stephen Twitch Boss, who is Ellen's DJ from her TV show and was also on So You Think You Can Dance, was 4 years old today. He unfortunately committed suicide this week. Had some mental issues that he had to deal with. So rest in peace to you. Herb Deutsch, the co-creator of the Moog synthesizer, died at the age of 90 this week as well. Don't know much about that, but it's the Moog trailer, or Moog synthesizer. I saw one of the greatest trailers that I've ever seen that I really want to see the movie of now. And the only problem I have with it is that they kind of revealed what could have been a potential twist, but I guess it's such a bizarre sort of film that they want to get the people into the seats, so they reveal the twist first to get you to come in to see it and just to check it out. And believe me, I want to see this now. The movie's called 65, and it stars Kylo Ren. I hate not knowing these names. Kylo Ren. Adam Driver. So it stars Adam Driver. And the trailer is, I'll tell you exactly what happens in the trailer because it reveals everything to you in it. But basically, Adam Driver is the pilot of a spaceship that's flying through space. And he's got to carrying passengers that are in frozen, they're frozen. They're being sent to another planet or something like that. And he's the pilot who's taking them safely, but emergency happens and he has to crash land on a nearby planet. And the planet is like a jungle planet. Doesn't appear to have really any life or whatever. And Adam Driver is, he believes, the only survivor until he discovers a young girl, one of the people he was transporting, is still alive. And so he decides to take her and try to protect her and try to figure out a way off this planet. Discovers the air is breathable, the water is drinkable, but there are strange noises that they keep hearing and strange shadows, and he believes there's some sort of monsters are out there, so he's got to protect this young girl. And then he discovers what the monsters are. The monsters, here's the twist, are dinosaurs, T-Rexes, raptors. And we discover that he is on planet Earth, but 65 million years ago, back when dinosaurs ruled the Earth and there were no humans. So basically they're saying that Kylo Ren is, there's a human species in other parts of the universe, and there's they're aliens or whatever. And back when Earth was, forming and stuff like that, he crash lands on it in his scientific sci-fi spaceship and has to deal with dinosaurs. So it's outstanding. It's coming out this summer, I believe. And if you haven't seen it, check out the 65 trailer. It is outstanding. What do we got here? The Santa Clauses, the Disney Plus TV show, just wrapped up its initial season. And it has already got an early Christmas present. The Santa Clauses has been renewed for a second season, so it gets a second season pickup. Have not checked out the first one yet. I don't know if I will or not. We will see. It's up in the air. We'll check it out like that. Showing Up trailer starring Michelle Williams. Didn't really look at that one because it didn't seem to pique my interest that much. But it's a new Michelle Williams movie, and she's always does good work. It's about art and stuff like that, so it's kind of neat. Michael Keaton is going to be starring in and directing. I didn't know he directed one movie already. They say is his second movie called Knox Goes Away, and it's a film noir sort of thing that stars Al Pacino, Marcia Gay Harden, James Marsden, and Michael Keaton. And he's starring in and directing it. And he plays like a former mobster who's trying to protect his son, sort of thing. So that's pretty cool. MGM is acquiring the worldwide rights to the Night of the Living Dead sequel that's going to be directed by Nikyatu Jusu, who did a recent horror film that got a lot of really good buzz and stuff like that. The Keep remake is going to be in development from Greg Nicotero of The Walking Dead. So now that he is now free of The Walking Dead, he can start developing TV shows and movies and stuff like that. I don't know much about The Keep, but apparently it's this really horrific type of movie, and it's his up in his wheelhouse. Lee Isaac Chung is in talks to direct Twister 2. So yes, that is a real thing. You're not mishearing that. That is a real thing. James Cameron and Robert Rodriguez have swore a blood oath that they will be making Battle Angel Alita 2. The first one did reasonably well, but they love the character. They love working together. So they have decided that they made a blood oath together. They will get a second one in development and get it out to the world sooner than later. As I said last week, award shows are in full swing right now, and there's a bunch of Golden Globes were announced this week, and the Critics' Choice Awards were announced this week, but that's just too much to digest and go through. So check them out for yourself if you want to see who's been nominated. There's lots of stuff that should have been nominated that isn't, and there's stuff that is nominated that shouldn't have been, sort of stuff like that. But you get these other like minor awards that aren't part of the major stuff. They're not minor, but they're pretty big. But Eddie Murphy will be getting the Cecil B. DeMille Award at the 2023 Golden Globes. And Adam Sandler will be getting the Mark Twain Prize, which Steve Martin won a couple of years ago for a comedy writing or something like that. So Adam Sandler's now an award winner, as is Eddie Murphy. Let's see, a lot of anniversary stuff here. Oh, this is kind of interesting. There's an Exorcist remake a reboot right now in the works, right? Or not in the works, has been filming. And then all of a sudden, just suddenly, literally out of nowhere, unexpectedly, they stopped production on it and will not resume until next year. So you can make the case that maybe there's something to, movies that are cursed, and that this is just the newest one now, that the Crow curse has pretty much been broken. But this is the new one right now. I was going to wear my new Sarah Michelle Gellar t-shirt I got, but it's extra large. I got it from, I forget, from something that I don't want, but I was glad I got a Sarah Michelle Gellar Buffy t-shirt. But it was just too small. Plus, it's not Christmassy, so I figured I'd go with my Christmas one. Anyway, Sarah Michelle Gellar is doing the circuit for doing interviews for her new role in Wolfpack and stuff like that. And she finally sat down and started talking about the toxic male set that was Buffy. When we knew a little bit about it, she did the job, she did her job, but she also knew that there was stuff going on, but she didn't want to say anything or do anything because it was a good paying gig, and she didn't know what to do or how to approach it or whatever. So she kept to herself. But now with all the stuff that's been coming out about Joss Whedon over the last year or so, she's finally going to come out and talk about it. And she did, and she talked about how it was a toxic set, as everybody expected. So we'll see what happens with that. Some sports ball news before we get to this. Has a lot more anniversaries than the last page. I mean, it's basically what this whole page is anniversaries. Some sports ball stuff. The Washington Commanders, which is my wife's team, are playing really good ball right now. They've just come off their bye, and they are playing the New York Giants at home in Washington. And the two of them played just 2 weeks ago to a tie. So now here's the rematch, but it's in Washington this time on Sunday Night Football. It was flexed to Sunday Night Football. And the Commanders said that they are going to pay for the Metro fare for all the Sunday Night Football fans who show up to the game. So show up to the game, they will pay your fare home for you. Because if you've ever been to their stadium, there is a metro station not that far from it. So they will pay for your metro ticket on your way home. Drew Brees has been hired as an assistant coach at Purdue, which also happened to be his alma mater. So good on him getting a chance to coach at his alma mater. I'm going to finish this up real quick. Now, page 2 of anniversaries. These are all just all over the place, so I'm just going to roll with it. From top down. Were No Angels came out in 1989. That's Sean Penn and Robert De Niro. Kind of a remake of a comedy. Turned it more into like an action comedy sort of thing. The Wizard also came out in 1989, and that was at the height of the video game craze. Fred Savage plays a kid who wants to go to the video arcade game World Series and win. So it's kind of a dated movie, but it came out in 1989. Also, Robert De Niro showed up in the 1995 film Heat with Al Pacino. First time the two of them stood face to face in one of the best scenes in cinematic history. They were face to face. They acted together in a scene. It also has a great performance from Val Kilmer. And it's a Michael Mann movie. It's pretty good. It came out in 1995 this week. Young Frankenstein, Mel Brooks' To Be or Not to Be, came out in 1983. Mel Brooks' Young Frankenstein came out in 1974 this week as well. Another funny one. Now, the funny thing about that is people say they came out the same year as Blazing Saddles, and they say that Young Frankenstein is funnier than Blazing Saddles, and I have to disagree with that. I believe Blazing Saddles is much funnier than Young Frankenstein. I like Young Frankenstein, but honestly, it is not a laugh-out-loud, guffawing movie, whereas Blazing Saddles was. What the hell is that? Oh, it's all one together. Okay. That's some history, so we'll cover that in a second. Steve Martin's one of his first films, The Jerk, came out in 1979 this week. Robin Williams' original Jumanji, 1995, came out this week, 27 years ago. Glory, the Civil War movie that won Denzel Washington his first Oscar award and had Morgan Freeman in it and Matthew Broderick and Cary Elwes, came out in 1989 this week, 33 years ago. The big one, there's a dual Spielbergs. The first one was not one of his better ones. 1941 was released in 1979 this week. It has its moments, but it's definitely not one of Spielberg's bright, shiny moments. So much after this film. 45 years ago this week, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, also by Spielberg, that he made before 1941, came out this week as well, 45 years ago. Keeping with that, The Jewel of the Nile, the sequel to Romancing the Stone, that did not have Robert Zemeckis directing it, but did have Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, and Danny DeVito return for it, popped up in 1985. And then the trio reunited for a movie called The War of the Roses, which is a more dark-humored comedy, and I believe Danny DeVito directed that one. That came out in 1989. It's about a couple that's on the verge of divorce, and they try to kill each other, so that's wonderful. Both of those came out, one in 85, one in 89 this week, and with the same cast. One of the best movies, one of my favorites, one of my ones that I can watch over and over again, one of my wife's favorites, one of the funniest movies of all time, Clue, came out 37 years ago this week as well. Another really, really good, funny one. Three Amigos came out 36 years ago this week. I went to see that movie with my mother in the movie theater. Outstanding film, and it's great. And another really good, funny one. Steve Martin popped up with Michael Caine in 30 Rotten Scoundrels. That came out 34 years ago this week as well. So that's outstanding. The Golden Child, one of Eddie Murphy's misfires, so I enjoyed the movie. It wasn't a straight up comedy like people were expecting, but it was a hot Eddie Murphy. He's in the middle of the height of his popularity, so he decided to try to make this sort of supernatural comedy thriller sort of thing. And it actually, I liked the movie. I saw it in the movie theater. I liked it a lot. Came out in 1986 this week. The Hobbit is celebrating its 10-year anniversary. The first of the new Hobbit trilogy came out in 2012. Is that all the movies for this anniversary edition? it for the movies. And then history. 55 years ago this week, 46 people died when the Silver Bridge collapsed. Now, you think, why you bring this up? It's a bridge collapse, a terrible tragedy. Yeah, but what does that have to do with anything? Well, about the 6 months before this bridge collapse came, there was a little thing called the Mothman scare. Mothman, a supernatural cryptid creature, had started getting spotted in the summer of this year, the summer 55 years ago, and lots of eyewitnesses and lots of people trying to hunt him down, stuff like that, and all kinds of stuff. And then they say they saw him on the bridge just before it collapsed, and then after it collapsed, the Mothman disappeared, never showed up again. And a lot of theories believe that when you see the Mothman, he is a portend for tragedies to happen. And it became such a big deal that they made a movie about it called The Mothman Prophecies, which starred Richard Gere and Laura Linney, and it's outstanding, and it's kind of based on this story as well. So that's a great movie, but that actually, the actual historical event that sort of inspired that story happened this week, 55 years ago. That's it for this week. Now, this page has less anniversaries, so we'll get to those at the end later on. My Hero Academia is all over the place this week. Netflix announced a live-action version of My Hero Academia. They're doing all kinds of live-action versions of manga, so why not do My Hero Academia? So they just announced that they're in production of that, or in the beginning stages of that. Also, Fortnite released their Winterfest this week, which is their Christmas special, and also the My Hero Academia stuff crossover, came out on Friday. So you can play as All Might or Deku or Bakugo or the girl, I forget her name, but that's going to happen for the next 2 weeks. So My Hero Academia is all over the place there. The Quantum Leap reboot, despite the fact that it is getting low ratings, has gotten a second season announced for it. So a second season will be rolling with that. The Scream 6 teaser trailer came out this week, I think the day before the Barbie one. And basically just shows a sequence in the movie, which is set in New York City, and you see some of the survivors from the last movie, I think including Jenna Ortega's in that. And they're on a subway, and there's all these people dressed in costumes, so it must be taking place around Halloween or New Year's or something like that. I think it's Halloween because they're not like bundled up enough. I mean, Halloween is still chilly in New York, but they aren't as bundled up as if it were New Year's, which is a whole lot different story than Halloween is. And they see someone we'll see a couple people dressed as the Scream serial killer. But one they keep an eye on is watching them, and every time they go like in a tunnel or whatever, and it's dark inside, and then it lights up again, he's moving closer, and then it's really, really dark for a long time, and then it cuts to a scene where he's right in front of one of the survivors, and then he pushes her up against the wall, and that's where it ends. So it looks like it's going to be probably, since they say it's going to be gory, he's probably going to be able to push her out of it, and she's going to get like splattered all over, and all this blood's going to splatter everywhere probably. But that was the first trailer for Scream 6, which comes out in March. Party Down, which hasn't had a new season in a really long time, is finally getting their third season, set to debut on Starz in February of 2023. So they've showed, I think, the first trailer for that as well, or at least some first pictures for that. The Rings of Power Season 2 are going to have all women directors, so that's a first for a TV show for the most part. Lucky Charms S'mores cereal is your new cereal thing you're going to love. It's coming up there. The Dungeons and Dragons classic cartoon is going to be getting a new miniseries. John Cena, and Jason Momoa will be teaming up for a action comedy called Killer Vacation. The two of them together could actually be outstanding and could be a lot of fun. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse trailer, the sequel to the Academy Award-winning film, first film, Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse. We get the first trailer for the new one coming out in June. Keeping up with the same sort of style of animation. You get to see a bunch of different Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen's in there again. So you get all kinds of cool stuff. So that came out this week as well. Doggone is a new Netflix film that stars Rob Lowe searching for his dog. That could be, I guess, kind of interesting, a different sort of film, I suppose. The Cramps Goo Goo Muck, which was a huge deal in Wednesday, is now getting the Running Up That Hill sort of resurgence that came out in the Stranger Things thing. The Running Up the Hill came out and hit strong on the pop charts, and now Goo Goo Muck is getting the same thing due to TikTok and Reels, stuff like that, just completely showing the clip over and over again of the dancing, stuff like that. Will Trent is a new TV show coming out about a lawyer with a dog. Not a lawyer, an investigator who has like a psychic ability to kind of sort of like a millennium sort of thing, where he sort of is able to see how the killer and stuff like and what happened, is very aware of stuff, like a Sherlock Holmes thing, is able to where somebody's got a little Chihuahua dog in there. So that looks, I guess, interesting, but I'm not going to watch it, but it's just kind of a neat little trailer about that. Speaking of Wednesday has beaten Dahmer and is setting its sights on Stranger Things to be the biggest show of all time on Netflix. So Wednesday is very close to doing that. Universal Studios Hollywood has revealed the opening date of the Super Nintendo World will be in February. So that's the one in California, not the one in Florida. So if you want to go to Super Nintendo World, you have to wait till February, and then you got to fly out to California and do it there. TV show Leverage, which lasted about 4 or 5 seasons, and then went away for a while, and then it's had sort of a resurgence. They're on their second season, I believe. It's about ready to celebrate their 100th episode, so congratulations to them. Leverage is a great show. I haven't seen any of the new seasons yet, but the original shows are outstanding. Iron Man, The Little Mermaid, When Harry Met Sally, House Party, and a bunch of others have been added to the National Film Registry. Winnie the Pooh prequel movie and series in the works, but will not be from Disney, since Winnie the Pooh got into the anybody can do it sort of thing. Anybody is doing it now. The Webb telescope spots a rare red spiral universe in the old universe, in the old galaxy sort of thing. Spiral galaxy in an old universe, I should say. A mysterious object is 570 billion times brighter than the sun. And that's just insane about how bright that is. It's tradition in Italy to watch Trading Places on Christmas Eve. That's kind of interesting. I did not know that. It's kind of a Christmas movie, but also kind of not. It's also kind of a New Year's movie as well. Sports. Alex Ovechkin, the Washington Capitals hockey player, gets his 800th career goal, which is a huge deal, a huge record to have. The NBA MVP trophy has been renamed the Michael Jordan Trophy for one of the greatest of all time basketball players. And now a forgotten archives of medieval books and manuscripts have been discovered in a Roman church. So that's kind of interesting as well. Lots and lots of product there. And now for the anniversaries. Mars Attacks, the Tim Burton film that flopped, unfortunately, came out 26 years ago this week. I remember watching this in a movie theater by myself, the only one in the movie theater. I enjoyed it. It has great music. It's a little weird, but it's fun. Star Trek Nemesis, which was the last Star Trek Next Generation movie, is celebrating its 20th anniversary this week. I did not see it, did not really want to see it, so whatever. Drive Miss Daisy came out in 1988 this week. Ended up winning an Academy Award as well. I Am Legend, the Will Smith movie, came out in 2007. Yeah, this week. Jerry Maguire came out 26 years ago this week. Another big Tom Cruise deal. The Peter Jackson King Kong remake, which was kind of blur, to be honest. I saw that in the movie theater with my wife. 17 years ago this week, came out in 2005. 60 years ago this week, a Russian spaceship zipped past the planet Venus for the first time. So we got our first look at Venus that way. Alf's Christmas special, which is one of the greatest Christmas specials of all time, came out this week in 1987. Fortnite season 2 started this week 5 years ago. This was a big story about that because Fortnite season 1, chapter 1, rather, I should say. Not season 2, chapter 2. Fortnite chapter 1 was so huge it lasted 10 seasons, and it became one of the biggest games of all time. I mean, YouTube videos galore about Fortnite season 1 and stuff like that. And then the 10th season ended with a black hole sucking the island into a black hole and the screen going black, and Fortnite was gone. You could not play Fortnite for 2 days, 2 whole days. People were freaking out. I remember 5 years ago when I was doing the show, I hadn't started playing Fortnite at that time. And I was talking about, I found how interesting and crazy it was that these people were going absolutely nuts. So there's videos of these kids just freaking out that they'll never be able to play Fortnite ever again. And so for 2 straight days, they were freaking out. And the reason why is because they were getting ready for the Chapter 2 season, or the Chapter 2 map, which is a new map with new locations, new battle pass, new mechanics, like they introduced fishing and swimming and all kinds of stuff. And then they released the new one, the Chapter 2, which became my favorite because I started Chapter 2 season 2 near the end of that. That lasted 8 seasons till last year around this time. Chapter 3 rolled in, and it was only a 1-day lag between chapters that time. And Chapter 3 was lousy. I did not like it. That lasted a year. And then just recently, Chapter 4 made its debut again, about a 1-day break before Chapter 4 was released. Chapter 4 I'm liking a lot more because I like the map better. I like the graphics are hugely increased. I talked about that last week, but that 5 years ago that week, people were freaking out about Fortnite. Okay, I think we're on the last page here coming up. Yep. 1 Mile, Ryan Phillippe is back in a movie where he is battling a what do you call it? A cult. That's what it is. And the directors have high hopes for it that they filmed a sequel back to back with it. So if the movie does well, they have a sequel already in their back pocket, ready to air to come out. So obviously the first one will probably end on some sort of cliffhanger probably, and it'll be resolved in the second one. Norman Reedus has joined the cast of Ballerina, which is the John Wick spinoff. So that's kind of interesting. He's doing something that's non-Walking Dead related. This will be the last thing I do. Bryce Howard will be starring in a Witch Mountain series. I thought she would, Bryce Dallas Howard, I thought she would be set to direct, and she might still direct some of the episodes, but I thought they were trying to get her to start directing movies. I thought it was going to start with this, but apparently she's going to be acting in a TV show based on the Witch Mountain series. A dust storm passed over the Perseverance rover, and they recorded the sound of it. And it's not anything too crazy. It just sounds like a lot of wind and gravel hitting it and just blows over it. But you get the first sound of a dust storm on another planet recorded and released. IHOP has a blueberry and syrupy breakfast cereal now for your pleasure. And Miller has the beer, the Miller Lite. It's not Miller Lite, but Miller Beer is selling a Christmas tree stand that can double as a beer keg. So if you like your Christmas tree stands and you like your beer kegs, you got them both now. Chewy Chips Ahoy has created their first new flavor in a while. This is Chewy Chips Ahoy confetti cake flavored cookie which is a huge new flavor now, which is kind of interesting. Dune Part 2 has finished production, so now we're just going to be looking on the post-production with all the special effects, stuff like that. But they are done filming, so Zendaya's free, Timothée Chalamet's free, so they can go on to do other stuff. The Penguin Show, based the spinoff from the Batman movie that came out earlier this year, is set to start filming in February 2023 for HBO Max, so that'll be rolling in there soon. The Artemis 1 rocket that just was launched and orbited the moon is now back on Earth. So it was a successful return and launch. I already talked about this. Wow. I'm blowing through this episode here. A couple more deaths. No, I will do before I do this. Ben & Jerry's is new flavor called Lights, Caramel, and Action, which sounds absolutely phenomenal. And I can't wait to try it. And deaths. Mike Leach, he was the coach of Mississippi State football team, was the current coach of it. He passed away at the age of 61. His team was in a bowl game, and they are still going to play in honor of him. Now, there was an interesting story about him where I guess it was earlier this year or whatever, he decided in the middle of the game, like at halftime, to have someone come out or picked a few people at random to try to kick a field goal from a certain point, just to, sort of a fun thing to do. And this one guy came up and he nailed it perfectly. So Mike Leach goes over and talks to him as they're walking off the field. He's like, "Oh yeah, good job, congratulations." And Mike Leach is like, "Hey, you want to do this regularly?" The kid's like, "Sure, why not?" And so he joined the football team, and apparently, from what I said, he has not missed an extra point since joining the team. So congratulations! But it's a sad time for Mississippi State. They lost their football coach just before their bowl game, and he passed away at the age of 61. Kim Mohan was editor of the late lamented Dragon magazine, which is sort of a role-playing sort of magazine that I never read, but when I worked at Diamond, it was a big deal. And I remember someone had some back issue copies of, but it was a huge thing for role-play gamers, Dungeons and Dragons people, and stuff like that. And finally, death-wise, Richard Miller, sculptor behind Princess Leia's gold bikini, the Rocketeer helmet, stuff like that, passed away this week as well. Now we got some anniversaries, and we're going to end on a story, and we'll be done just barely over an hour. So way to go. Scream 2 came out in 1997, not 87, you moron. Came out not as good as the first one, but still entertaining. It had Sarah Michelle Gellar in it, and also Jerry O'Connell. But that came out this week in 1997. The Last Boy Scout, the action drama directed by Tony Scott that had Damon Wayans and Bruce Willis in it. It came out in 1991. Was a pretty good hit, I guess. Magnum P.I., the TV show, came out in 1980. Stir Crazy with Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor also came out in 1980. Magnum P.I. was a TV show. Stir Crazy was a movie. The Year Without a Santa Claus, the classic animated, or I should say, sort of stop motion claymation, not claymation, stop motion cartoon. Year Without Santa Claus that had the Heat Miser and stuff like that came out this week in 1974. Tomorrow Never Dies, Pierce Brosnan's James Bond movie, came out 25 years ago this week. Oliver Stone's Wall Street with Michael Douglas, Charlie Sheen, and Daryl Hannah came out in 1987 this week. Speaking of Richard Pryor's movie The Toy came out 40 years ago this week. Also starred Jackie Gleason and the kid from Scott Schultz, I believe, from Christmas Story, who stuck his tongue on the pole and then ended up having a porn career afterwards. What's great about The Toy was it's one of those, when cable came out, it's 40 years old this week. When cable first came out, my dad had gotten HBO, and that was a movie that was on constantly, and I watched it over and over again. It's a fun little film. When I was a kid, I think it's fun, but I need to rewatch the game because it has a little bit of an underlay of not really slavery, but kind of just sort of thing. Basically, it's about Jackie Gleason as a rich dad who spends very little time with his kid, sends him away to military school, and the kid is back home for, I believe, for Christmas or for his birthday or whatever. And to please his son, since Jackie Gleason's rich, he closes a toy shop and says, "You can take whatever you want that's in the store." and I'll pay for it. And as your present. And he goes in with his entourage of people. And Richard Pryor is like a janitor working in there, and he's goofing around with the toys and stuff like that. And the kid's like, I want him as a toy. And so it's almost not like slavery, but because he's getting paid. So he comes in and talks to Jackie Gleason, and then Jackie Gleason like pays him to be a friend for his son, and then gets the son to bond a little bit, and then gets the father to sort of realize that he should be a better father. And then apparently the father is also kind of mixed up with white supremacists, and Richard Pryor discovers this, and they tries to destroy a garden party that has that with the help of the kid. So it's kind of interesting. It's a fun movie, and it's one I haven't seen in a really long time, but 40 years ago this week. This is my sister and brother-in-law's, one of my sister and brother-in-law's favorite Christmas movie of all time, and if not, maybe one of their favorite movies of all time. It's celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. The Muppet Christmas Carol, which is actually really, really good. Enjoyed it immensely, and is now on Disney Plus if you haven't checked it out yet. 30 years ago this week. Also, the great George C. Scott did a version of A Christmas Carol as well. Did not go to movie theaters, but was released on TV, and it's one of my favorite versions of it. It came out on TV in 1984 this week. What the hell did I write there? It's not a show without me. Oh, Simpsons. The Simpsons premiered this week in 1989, and it's still going here in 2022. That's 89, 99, 2009, 2019. That's 33 years. The Simpsons have been going on for 33 years. And their first episode, or their full-length episode, was the Christmas episode, Simpsons roasting on an open fire, where Homer doesn't get his Christmas bonus, so he doesn't have enough money for Christmas presents for his family, so he has to get a job as a mall Santa. And his friend Barney, it's not a lot of money. He doesn't get, so Christmas Eve he gets his paycheck, and it's not a lot of money. It's like $100 or something like that. So they can't buy presents for everybody because he doesn't have the money to pay for presents for his kids and his wife. And so Barney convinced him to go to the dog track to put money down on the dog track and make all that money back, and you'll have a Merry Christmas. And Homer puts it on the wrong dog, Santa's Little Helper, who comes in last, so he loses all his money. But the owner of Santa's Little Helper gets rid of Santa's Little Helper, and he comes and joins the Simpsons and becomes their dog. And that's how the episode goes. So that's funny. So that premiered in 1989. A Few Good Men came out 30 years ago this week as well. Great Aaron Sorkin written, Rob Reiner directed film. Tom Cruise, Kevin Bacon, Demi Moore, Kevin Pollak, Jack Nicholson. Anyone else big in this? Kiefer Sutherland's in it. So it's a real good cast, and it's actually one of the only times where there is no romance in it, even though you'd think that a Tom Cruise, Demi Moore romance would be a fire one, but they decided not to do that, which I think is for the best, because the story is strong enough on itself that you don't need to go off on some sort of tangent here. So good on that. Another one of Spielberg's mediocre sort of, I like it, but a lot of people don't like it. It's Hook. Came out in 1991 this week. I saw that with my sister up in college. And it's basically Robin Williams plays Peter Pan grown up, and Dustin Hoffman is Captain Hook. So and Julie Roberts is Tinkerbell. So it's a little interesting sort of take on the Peter Pan thing. It's not bad, and it's got some good visual flares and some great music. But there we go. Danny DeVito is also, I think he directed this one, is in a movie with Billy Crystal called Throw Mama from the Train, which is version of a Hitchcockian, I should say, Hitchcockian film. So Throw Mama from the Train. I remember that movie. That also played a lot on cable. Came out this week. Airplane 2, the sequel, came out 40 years ago this week, 1982. It's not a bad sequel. The original one is one of the funniest movies, if not the funniest movie I've ever seen. The sequel pretty much rehashes a lot of the same jokes, but there are some new ones in there, and there's a lot of stuff that I like about it. So it's not a bad sequel. It's just not as funny as the original one, as most things aren't. Is that all my anniversaries here? Let's just make sure I'm noticing anything. Nope, that's it. All right, now to end tonight's episode, I've been neglectful on my conversation with myself show, and I need to do a bunch of those because I have a bunch on the wire, but I just need the time to do it, so we'll figure that out. But I need to do one where I talk about like my 6 degrees of being around, could be close to how close I've been to celebrities and stuff like that. Speaking of Enid, Wednesday, the character of Enid, it's played by Emma Myers. Stole Your Hearts, was a great character and was my favorite. Honestly, was my favorite character in the whole show. And I found out this week because I follow a guy I used to work with at Diamond Comics. We were both customer service reps. And then he went upstairs. We were both going for the same job, but he was basically guaranteed that job, but they still interviewed me for it. And because I was not a sore loser, I was a good loser. They gave me another opportunity for another job up there, and I got the job up there, and it turned out not to be great for me, but at least they looked out for me and stuff like that. And then, we were doing that job, and I was doing that job, and he was doing that job. We would go to conventions together, and we went to the Boston Comic-Con, and we were roommates. We had to share the same hotel room. So we were roommates for the whole of the Boston Comic-Con. I worked in his area, so I know him pretty good. And then he moved on, and then I moved on. No, he didn't move on. I moved on because he still works there. I think he's still in charge of setting up for conventions and stuff. His name is Chris Myers. And I found out this week that Chris Myers, this guy I worked with, that roomed with for a convention, stuff like that, and I knew pretty well, and I threw a farewell luncheon for at work when he moved upstairs, is related to Emma Myers, who plays Enid. Emma Myers is his cousin's daughter. I think they say cousin first removed. So basically, it would be like, let's see, the only cousins that I know of that have kids is Jenny and Kelly. Kelly just had 2 kids, so we'll do with her daughter. My cousin Kelly's daughter. Oh no, and then we're going to the other side. It'd be like my cousin Amanda's son was famous. So that's sort of how close it is in connection to that. So it's kind of neat to see that I kind of have this connection because I know Chris Myers pretty good, and the fact that he's related to Emma Myers, who plays Enid, who is one of my favorite characters, is kind of amazing, and it's kind of funny, and the fact that I just learned that this week is also very funny. All right, that's it for this week's episode. Next week gets a little more complicated. Next Saturday is Christmas Eve. I will not be doing a show on Christmas Eve due to the fact that on Christmas Eve is the way we're going to do Christmas Eve this year is we're going to go to dinner with my in-laws, and we're going to go to church at 8 o'clock, and then we're going to come back home about 9:15, 9:30, and then just sort of chill for about an hour, and with the kids to bed. And so about 11:30, my wife and I are going to wrap our presents. Hopefully we'll have the kids' presents wrapped. We're going to start wrapping them probably this week. But I wrap my wife's presents. She wraps my presents, and I watch A Christmas Story. And then we get everything put under the tree, and we end up going to bed about 2 a.m., which is hard. I'm going to try not to do it this year, but we'll see. So we'll not be doing a show on Saturday because it's Christmas Eve, and I got plans. Maybe do a show Sunday because I am off on the 26th. Last year, I did my show on Christmas Day. I might end up doing it again on Christmas Day. Last year, I did my show on Christmas Day. It was a Saturday. I did it on Christmas Day because my Uncle Phillips, the party, the family get-together we had, my Uncle Phillips, was canceled due to COVID last year, the second year in a row. This year, hopefully, will not get canceled. It's on Sunday, 1 week from today. It's on Sunday. So I may be doing this show Sunday night. Christmas night. I'll be doing another Christmas night show. It depends on how I feel. I will be going to my Uncle Philip's house again, but we'll be back soon enough. We'll be back probably around 8 o'clock at night. And then we'll just sort of chill after that because I am off Monday the 26th from work. We're actually going to my nephew's house for our Christmas with my sister and my dad. So we got that going on. Then I got to go to work the 27th through the 29th. I'm sorry, through the 30th, excuse me. And then the week after that is also going to be complicated. It will be as complicated because Saturday is New Year's Eve and we'll be up at midnight for the changeover of the year, but I'm not going to do my show after that. So then I might do it on New Year's Day. But New Year's Day, we're going to my in-laws' house and we stay there till like 9 o'clock anyway. So not this weekend coming up, but next weekend, the New Year's Eve weekend might be a little harder to do a show on. But we'll see. Maybe I'll do an Saturday afternoon show. I don't know. We still deciding if we're going to go to my mom's house or not, but she still might do that. I haven't decided yet. So it might be a Saturday afternoon show on the 31st of December. So the next 2 weeks are going to be a little complicated, as it were. So bear with me. Plus, I want to try to get some conversations with myself there. I want to talk about the best Christmas shows and movies and stuff like that. But I don't think I'm going to be able to have time because I've just got a lot to do this week. So we'll see what happens. So I'm just right here. Christmas. So we shall see what happens. But until then, we have a week to Christmas, 7 days. If your stuff isn't done yet, get your stuff done. I just got the outside done with my lights. I have the inside done, so we're all good. All right. See you soon. Bye.